What it do, y'all, and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I am so excited to be doing this kind of head-to-head battle between two brands that are not only Black owned but female owned as well. And so I am going to be featuring in this video, just as the title suggests, the brand LYS and Juvia's Place. I would love it if you stop right now before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video and tell me which side you think is which. I did separate both sides. The only thing that I combined really are the lips, the eyes, and that's it. Everything else is drastically separated using completely different products, and I would love to hear your opinions, your predictions on which brand you think is going to kind of win out, because I like more categories from that brand than the other. And yeah, my predictions in my head did not go as I thought it was. So I can't wait to hear your opinions and your predictions. But with that said, let's just go ahead and get into it because this is going to be a long one. Okay guys, so we are just gonna dive right on in. I'm so excited to do this like head-to-head matchup. I have tried everything I believe from all of these respective brands that I'm gonna be featuring today. Some things are like a first or second impression, but I still have some opinions, and so that's why I felt kind of comfortable doing this video for you guys. So first things first are primers from both brands. I physically have a primer from Juvia's Place, and this is a new product that they just released. When it comes to this particular product, I find that this is very similar to like the Auric or even the Charlotte Tilbury focus filter. I don't know, I've never had that product. What I will say is that for me, I think this is enough luminosity that I'm not going to feel overly luminous, but it also doesn't give too much. I also tend to just keep these types of products out of my T-zone, and I tend to do very minimal application, and then what I will do is just apply this into the skin with my sponge. Although I don't have the product, I will talk about the LYS gripping primer. That was a primer that I recently finished actually, and it's actually really good. If you're somebody who does not like the milk makeup because you find it is too gripping, I would actually strongly recommend that one. It does run very easily out of the packaging, so you can tend to take too much and apply too much on the skin. So I do give you guys caution on that, but otherwise I did feel like that product was really good at making my foundation last for a longer period of time, whereas this one just helps to give it a little bit of radiance, a little bit of shine. And for me, because I tend to use more satin based foundations anyways, I don't think that that is a necessary product, although I like it, and I think that this could easily be something that I just apply in certain zones every day to kind of feel a little bit more confident about myself. As you can see, it added just a very, very thin layer. I have the shade 3 in case you were interested, and I always have my shade matches down below. I probably need to update those because they're quite old, but check out down below. I'll probably update those in this video. Then as for foundations, I've only tried one foundation from each brand, so those are the two foundations that I'm going to speak about. I don't want to speak on any other ones. The one for the Juvia's Place side is the I Am Magic foundation. I have this in the shade Legos. And then on the LYS side, this is the Triple Fix Serum foundation. Now I have two sponges to ensure that like as best as possible I can keep these products separate so you can really get an impression. For me on application, I usually do about 3 pumps with the I Am Magic because I'm only doing half. I'm gonna start off with one and we'll see how it goes. This does have a very sweet kind of citrus scent, although to me, once I put it on the skin and kind of blended it in, I no longer smell that product or that fragrance. As for the finish, this does give a very beautiful skin-like finish. I do have combination skin in case you did not know, and like I said, this is in the shade Legos. I have worn this for very long periods of time, very short periods of time. With the way that I apply this, both with concealer, powder, all of that, I find that this definitely does last very long on my skin. And like I said, I have combination oily, so I'm definitely oily in T-zone. And I don't find that this breaks down too much for me. If you're somebody like me who likes a very natural skin-like finish, this is definitely something that I would recommend. And this is definitely medium coverage. You probably could build it up. I just am not the type to build it up. On the other side, like I said, I'm going to be using my LYS Triple Fix Foundation. Now, this is one that I will reach for on the off chance that I feel like full coverage. And I say that with the best possible intentions. Although I am not a huge fan of full coverage, I find that this particular foundation, it doesn't feel like full coverage. You know, it feels very light on the skin, very airy. It does have a very, very subtle scent, although that might be also my soap that I use to clean my sponge. This is in the shade DN6, in case you are wondering. And yeah, it's very similar finish, although I think this, once it dries down, I would consider this a little bit drier or matter of a finish than my Juvia's Place. But really the differences here are the coverage levels kind of off the bat. This one straight up medium. This one definitely gets to full coverage. I forgot to say in the intro like which of the two primers I would personally recommend. For me, I'm reached for, and I think in the long term I would reach more so for the gripping LYS. So that's the one that I would choose for that category. My bizzles. Now, when it comes to the foundations, if we're talking about which one I'm more likely to reach for, which one I think is best for somebody of my skin type, technically I say best would be the LYS because it's a little drier, so it's a little bit more mattifying for those who have that oil complexion, oily texture on their skin. That said, I'm gonna give it to the Juvia's Place I Am Magic foundation just because I love the finish, I love the coverage, I love the packaging. It's very easy for me to throw this into a travel bag or even just on the go. This is just a preferred formula for me, and you can see that in the usage that I made. And this usage is not only with it being in my current project pan, I also was just actively reaching for that product previously, which is why I actually put it in my project pan for this year. Then we have the two concealers that I'm going to feature. So I have the one concealer that I've seen Juvia's Place really come out with. They have like a multi-stick thing, but I'm not about that, so we're not going to be talking about that at all. Anyways, for the concealer, I have the shade 11. Previously, I grossly overestimated my shade in the brand's range, so I definitely strongly recommend you finding somebody creator wise that is similar to your complexion and going with that. I put way too much under my eyes, so this is gonna have to really dry down. For me, this concealer is quite high coverage. It's not very thick. It is very liquidy. And once you let it dry down, it does, of course, thicken up. So it's easier for me to blend it in the way that I prefer. I prefer to blend all of my base products with a sponge, so keep that in mind. And yeah, I like the color for me. I like a little bit of brightness. I wouldn't have gone any lighter than this, but I could have potentially gone darker. I think I stuck with this particular shade based on the undertones that were listed. As for the LYS, I have the Triple Fix Full Coverage Concealer. I believe this, once again, is their only concealer. And this is a concealer I've gotten a lot of use out of. I know this concealer pretty well, and similar to the foundation, I would say, yes, this gives I would say this is more on a high medium to full, not necessarily a full on full. I would say the Juvia's Place is more of a full coverage concealer. But the LYS, although once again it gives you more of a matte finish, it's just a little bit more tolerable for my under eyes when it comes to all of the potential matte finishes that I've seen in concealers. So these are the two going head to head in the concealer. Now I'm just gonna try to blend these out as best as possible. And this Juvia's Place definitely moves a lot further. It goes a lot longer for your money, and you get a lot more product. So definitely keep that in mind. That said, I've definitely been using the LYS for quite a bit of time, and it's still going. I definitely can see the end of the product. Like even today, just getting enough product for this look, I could feel like less product actually on the wand, which is good. It's good to see the usage of your products. but I do just want to say that if you're somebody who would rather spend less money and also get a lot more product one time instead of having to buy multiple different products like I like to do, I definitely would recommend the Juvia's Place. So when we're talking about these two concealers, for me, my preferences, I'm actually going to give it to the LYS. I just prefer this concealer, although it has, I would say, less coverage. That's just preferable for me. And even though this is a matte finish, I find that it just looks good regardless of the kind of type, the finish of my base, which is what I prefer. So I definitely prefer the LYS concealer. And yeah, look up on the screen. I'll have the tally, so we'll see who wins and who loses when it comes to this kind of head-to-head battle. As for my powders today, I did pick up a powder from each respective brand. For Juvia's Place, I actually went ahead and picked up their powder foundation. I remember hearing a lot of people talking about how although this is a powder foundation, they thought that this was light enough and finely milled enough to use as an actual powder to set respective parts of their face. I ended up picking up the shade Zaria, and I actually like this. Now, I have been using this strictly as an under eye setting powder, and that's really how I use a lot of my powders. And I will just take this brush and just set the zones in which I conceal. Now, this powder does have a color. The one that I will be comparing it to from LYS does not have a color. So in this point, there may be some bias here, but I will still give you guys my thoughts on the respective powders. As for this one, I find that on my under eyes, it makes them look quite dry, and that's not a preferred finish for me. I find that this really emphasizes my under eye wrinkles, and I do have quite a lot of lines down there, so that's definitely not a preferred part of this product. But that could be down to the color, although I feel like regardless of the color of the powder, if it's finely milled enough, it should still work. On the other side, I'm going to be using the LYS translucent setting powder. I do prefer a translucent setting powder, so that's why I did pick this one up. I didn't see that option in the Juvia's Place. That's why I didn't pick one up from them. As for this powder, I'm just switching my brush over so that my application can hopefully be unbiased. In this application, I see a lot less of the color, which I appreciate. And although I still feel that like there's some emphasization of the wrinkles under my eye, which is going to happen. You know, I'm 30 at this point. I still find that this side melts a little bit better into my skin than the Juvia's Place. The Juvia's Place, I think, just stands out just a tinge bit more. Once again, like I said, it could be down to the color and the lack of color in the respective powders, but I have tried enough powders that I feel like even if that were a potential excuse, I've found powders that are colored that I still found melted into my skin. So I'm going to come in closer so you guys can really see, hopefully, these under eyes so you can see a difference. So these are my under eyes. As you can see, I just feel like this side is a little bit lightening because of the actual powder, but also it just doesn't look as crepey and dry as this side does. Hopefully you guys get a similar impression on that. So for right now, I am done with powdering. I will come back into these respective powders in just a second, but if I had to choose a favorite between the two powders, I would choose the LYS powder. I just prefer the thinness of the powder in the way that I like to apply powder. Now, typically I like to set all of those respective spots, and then I like to do my cream bronzer. For Juvia's Place, they have quite a few kind of products. Juvia's Place has this cream bronzer in the shade Amber. I've already reviewed this on my channel, and the way that I like to use cream bronzer like this is I just take the tip of my sponge and I apply it in the zones that I like cream bronzer. As you can see, this is a quite pigmented cream bronzer, but even though it is pigmented, I find that it blends in beautifully to the skin, continuing on with that skin-like finish that I prefer. I don't find I have any issues with it really melting in, and in the event that I apply too much, I just take the side of my sponge that I put my foundation and my concealer on, and I just tap away, and I find like it really, really works. I love this cream bronzer, and it's a really good undertone and shade along with just the formula. So I definitely would recommend this. I will say that this is a very small amount of product. So if you're somebody, once again, that's looking for something that gives you a lot of product, this would not be the brand that I would really steer you to, at least not this product from the brand. On the opposite side, I have a cream bronzer stick from LYS. The shade that I ended up keeping is Strength. I tried another shade from the brand when I originally bought these, and the shade was just not correct. It was just way too light. It was actually my skin tone. The way that I like to apply this particular stick is I literally paint it on, as you can see, and then I take my sponge and I will just push the product in with the tip of the sponge in the same spot as I applied the Juvia's Place. And once again, if I find that I put too much bronzer or I put it in a spot that I actually did not want it, I will just go ahead and use the other side where I applied the actual foundation, concealer, all of that, just to blend it in. And I do like to bronze my nose, and just for ease, I'm just going to use the stick. Both formulas that I am highlighting here are very easily blendable and both very easily pigmented. So the real question is just the application method, the color, and the undertone. I found that Juvia's Place had a lot wider range of undertones, whereas LYS I felt really stuck to kind of the more traditional undertones that are presented out there. So it really just depends on what you're looking for. I think both formulas are really, really nice. If I had to choose one in particular, I think I would go for the Juvia's Place, just for the sheer fact that I have been reaching for this type of product compactness a lot more than like a stick lately, but also just the undertone. It's a little bit more yellow based, which is my preferred undertone for my bronzers. Now I only have one powder bronzer brush that I'm going to be using for this tutorial, so I will clean the brush in between. And for the Juvia's Place side, I'm going to be using their bronzed dark duo. This is a really good duo. This allows you to get both dark and light, which I truly appreciate, and this really gives you a wide variety of seasons that you can use this product because you get two colors. I do tend to reach in between the two now that I'm kind of going a little bit further away from a redder based bronzer and more into a yellow based. I find that the top shade just helps a little bit. That bottom shade is quite warm now for me. But yeah, I definitely think that the formula is really, really good. Once again, you get a lot of product for a very affordable price, and you get to kind of mix and match. The kind of negative about that is you are mixing and matching, right? So in the event that you pull a little bit too much of the red on one side and not too much on the other, you can look a little suspect. But I still enjoy the product and I would recommend it. I think it's really nicely blended, and for the way that I apply the product, it works nicely. Okay, on the LYS side, I'm going to be talking about their bronzer in dark. Now, if you know me, you know that bronzer is like one of those parts of makeup that I can just tend to buy a lot of. I tend to buy a lot of bronzers, reviewed a lot of bronzers throughout my years here on YouTube. And this was just one of those bronzers I didn't feel drawn to. And that is because the undertones really looked neutral. I've never been the biggest fan of a neutral toned bronzer. If anything, I will go for a redder bronzer over a neutral one. And even then, I prefer, if I could have my preference, I would have a yellow based bronzer. And so this one just never really hit home. The formula is great. I think it's still a really nice formula. But once again, if I'm saying in between these two, I would personally prefer the Juvia's Place, not only for the undertone, but once again, you get that option to have two different bronzers for two different seasons. And I definitely tan. I know you guys do, regardless of your skin tone. And so being able to have that diversity and that variety for a very affordable price is always a good thing in my book. Now, I'm going to go ahead and set my face. It's going to be interesting, but we're going to try to set half and half. I do have, of course, the two respective setting sprays. First, let's go in with the Juvia's Place Ready Set Sealed Setting Spray. This is a very new product to their range, and I think that the nozzle is great. I think that the mister is nice. Let me apply the product. I'm just going to use my little mirror and try to kind of block half of my face. Of course, only spraying the Juvia's Place side so you guys can see in real time what happens. So there is definitely a scent. I would definitely say that this is some added fragrance. I would say it's more on the rose side of things. It definitely does add some refreshing kind of moisture to the skin. So if you're somebody who has very dry skin, to me, this adds a good amount of moisture. Whether it's enough for dry skin, I cannot speak on. I do not have any form of dry skin on my face. But what I will say is it does bring that moisture, that life back to my skin, which I appreciate. Long-term, longevity-wise, I haven't seen a lot of really, lasting things that I can say it is truly the setting spray that is helping my face to last longer. I definitely need to test this product out. This is one of the handful of products that I just don't have enough of an opinion on, but I can say right now that I think it's a solid setting spray. On the other side, we're going to be showcasing the LYS Natural Finish Setting Spray. This one has like some charcoal in it. That's why I was just shaking it up. Let me go ahead and spray it on, of course, their respective side. Okay, this does not have a fragrance. I did not smell that at all. I would say that the actual mister on the LYS is lighter, and I felt like I had to kind of go through a couple of rounds, whereas the Juvia's Place definitely gives you a lot more mist to it. As for the LYS, I have had this setting spray a lot longer, so I can give you more opinions. And I would say if you are somebody who has oily or combination skin and you don't want a setting spray that is mattifying, this is a really good kind of alternative. You're not going to get an overly dewy setting spray. You're not going to get something that is mattifying and just drying. It does give what I would consider a natural finish, where pretty much whatever state or finish your skin is in that point is where it's going to stay for a long period of time. This is the setting spray that I traveled with on my last couple of trips in my little aromatizer, that and I've enjoyed it. I felt like my makeup has lasted for a very long time. So this one, although it's not going to really be the best kind of comparison because I've had one for significantly more time than the other, I would say so far this is the one that I would choose. I will be reviewing all of the newer Juvia's Place and the newer LYS stuff that I haven't had a lot of time to really get my full opinions on. Even though I'm doing this video, there is going to be a wrap up. It always happens on my channel. I'm going to try to make them more consistent. So in case you are interested, just keep watching, okay? And subscribe. I would love it if you subscribed. So let's go ahead and do brows, because I did get respective brow products from each brand. So for Juvia's Place, I did get their Eye Sculpt Eye Shade Brow Pencil, and I got this in the shade dark brown. I prefer to get a dark brown over like an ebony or a black, because my hair is not black. Even though it's very dark, it is just a very dark brown. I find that black is just a little too stark. This formula, I think, is not super waxy. It's definitely less waxy than I was truly expecting. It applies really nicely. The tip of the actual pen I find is nice, although because it is a roll up, the tip kind of preciseness does not last for a longer period of time than just the initial first couple of times that you're actually using the product, you know. As for, you know, the longevity and all of that, I felt like it was fine. Nothing super to write home about. I will say that this is one of the products that I actually had to buy specifically from the Juvia's Place website. So if you have been looking for this or you're interested in trying it now that I've showcased it, do know that you have to buy it directly from their website. It is not available at Ulta, unfortunately. So that is where it will be linked down below, because I try to always link all of the stuff that I have on my face. Continuing on with the Juvia's Place side, I also did pick up their brow gel, which I got in the exact same shade, dark brown. If I could go back, I would actually get a shade lighter than this. That way there could be a little bit more dimension in my brows. I find that this has a lot of product that goes on to the spoolie. And so okay, sorry, my camera shut off on me, so I wasn't able to really show you guys, but the amount of product that comes out on this brow gel spoolie is just a lot for my brows. I don't have a lot of brow hair, so that may be the issue also. But what I find is that if you're somebody who has like very thick bushy brows and you just want a brow gel just to throw through, this would be the type of product. If you're somebody like me who just likes a brow gel to really set your brows and really put them straight up on your face like I do with my Patrick Ta, this is not the product. This is not going to have a lot of hold. It gives the color and it helps to kind of separate the brows. So that is kind of my impressions on these brow products. If I had to like take my knowledge now, I would have only brought the brow pencil, and I would have just done well with whatever other brow gels I already have in my collection. I don't think that brow gel adds any value for me in my collection. Then on the other side, I was sent this particular product. I think I forgot to say I am affiliated with LYS as their ambassador. So some of these products have been sent to me, but not too many. Not too many, I don't think. So this is their brow pencil. Like I said, it was sent to me, and I believe this is also in dark brown. This is a product that is currently in my project pan, and this is a lot more of a powdery product than I was expecting. But even though it is a powdery product, very similar to the type of product that the Juvia's Place is, it has what I would consider like a more silicone base, because it slides over my brow hairs, over my brow area a lot quicker and more effectively than any other brow pencil that I've had. And that's what kind of tripped me up when I was trying to review this originally, because I was just not used to that type of product. So this is definitely a very unique brow pencil in my opinion. I do like it. I have found that I can get through this quickly, but typically for me, I can get through brow pencils within like a month to 3 months. And just to show you guys how I've been doing the LYS side, I've been using my Patrick Ta brow gel, and I will show you kind of what I expect from a brow gel, and that is for it to lift my actual brow hairs so that I get more of like a wispy brow effect, and so that the actual hairs hold. Whereas the Juvia's Place, the actual hairs do not hold, because the brow gel, it's really not meant to do that in my opinion. In my opinion, it's meant to give more of a color, whereas I prefer more kind of, I don't want to say lightening, but it just helps to fluff up my brows a lot more, and that's what I prefer. Okay, so to continue with the actual comparisons, I'm going to stick with the liquid products blush wise that Juvia's Place has come out with, because that is something that I can compare to the LYS. I will just briefly mention the fact that Juvia's Place has also come out with blush duos. These blush duos have a variety of different kind of color families. I won't be featuring this just because I don't have an equivalent on the LYS side, and I'm really trying to keep these as comparable as possible. So for the cream blush side on Juvia's Place, I have the shade Coral Rose. I am going to be using my favorite cream blush brush, which is the Angie Hot and Flashy A507. And this is a more neutral kind of slight terracotta pinky type blush. It's really, really pretty. I put it on the back of my hand and then I kind of evenly disperse the product. And then that's when I go ahead and apply it onto the cheeks. This is a very, very pigmented formula, extremely pigmented, extremely blendable formula. So definitely be careful. I'm sure you guys have already seen the videos of people applying way too much, being like, oh my goodness, it's possible. You just got to be careful. Juvia's Place also recently came out with blush lighters where they come out with a color, but there also is some shimmer in it. Now for these, what I would say for my skin tone, I found that these are more blush toppers or just a straight up highlighter. I don't think that this has enough color to it for my preference, but I am just going to show you in the same type of placement. Once again, applying it on the back of my hand and then kind of working it into the full brush. And then I'm just going to lightly tap over. Now you're going to see a lot of dewiness here. That's just because I have two liquid products both in this area, but there is definitely an additional sheen that this blush lighter brings that I wouldn't have gotten with just the liquid blush. If I'm being honest, which I always try to be, I am not a huge fan of liquid blush products. It's just not a preferred type of formula for me. I prefer something that's more in the cream type of formula. And both of the cream formulas from LYS are actually in that type of formulation. So first they have their high pigment cream blushes. I have this in the shade Inspire. I'm just going to take a new brush, and in this type of packaging I can just go right in with my brush. I don't have to apply it to the back of my hand, and then just apply it right on the cheeks. Very similar to the initial blush that I did on this side. It is truly a neutral, although the one on the other side was more of a kind of orangey neutral, and this one's more pinky. I do find that for my preferences, I do need to build this up, but that's perfectly fine. I understand the willingness for a lot of people to build something up instead of kind of take it away. Just because this is a lot more matter, I'm just going to take this across my nose, while the Juvia's Place was a lot more liquidy, and I just didn't want that all over my nose. Okay. That's probably too much blush, but it's all good. So let me show you the other blush formula that I'm going to be featuring, and then I'll kind of give you guys my opinions on both formulas and like which one I would recommend from respective brands. LYS has also come out with recently a new formula where it's like a blush lighter stick, where they came out with 5 shades, I believe. I picked up 2. So one is in the shade Courageous, and this is more of an orangey type tone. Put this there. It's a beautiful, beautiful orangey tone. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's definitely a color that I gravitate to. And then the other one I picked up just based on my recent favorite shades, and this is Unfazed, and this is a more purple maroon type tone. So just because of how today's look has come out so far, I'm gonna reach for the Courageous shade and I'm gonna apply that on top. Once again, because of the formula here that LYS has done their product, although it has that shimmery tone, and although it's a cream blush, I find that this is a little bit more easier to manage personally because it's a cream. It's not a liquid. And I find that there's less sheen, whereas this Juvia's Place side is so sheeny because of the liquid formulation. Just my personal preference. So I'm sure you guys aren't going to be kind of in any form of shock when I say both in the matte and the like blush lighter type formulas, I would recommend the LYS over the Juvia's Place. So yeah, for me, I just prefer this side where although there is sheen, it's just a lot more subtle than this side. I did go ahead and just add just a tinge of powder right in this area just because I felt like there was just too much sheen in the full-on pores. And really quickly, I just want to do my lips because my lips have been dry this whole video. Just to make it easy for me, I am going to just apply one product from each brand, but I will talk about each brand's respective stuff. So the LYS lip liner that I'm going to be applying is Soulful. I actually really like their lip liners. They're in a pencil format, so you do have to sharpen it, whereas the Juvia's Place is in a roll up. Now, although I do enjoy the roll up, I get through that lip liner very, very quickly. I went through my first couple in a month. Like I went through them 1 month after month after month. And it was just too quick for the amount of money. Yes, I wasn't spending oobs and oobs of dollars on those lip liners, but it was still just the principle of the matter. I would just rather pay a little bit more to have a lip liner for a longer period of time. As for LYS's like actual lip products, I have tried their like lip glosses and their bullet lipsticks. Some of the bullet lipsticks I feel like are very nice and like they're easy to apply. They're smooth. They're like more of a cream type finish, even though they apply matte. And the lip glosses I absolutely love. I have a short on that, so I will try my best to remember to have that link down below. If not, just check out my shorts. You will find it, I'm sure. As for the Juvia's Place products, Juvia's Place, I have enjoyed pretty much all of their lip products that I have tried. I have tried their bullet lipsticks. I find that they're once again creamy enough that they apply on the lips, and I don't have any issues with it that way. As for like this gloss product, and I like that there's actual color coming from this gloss. Some of the glosses that I have in this similar type of packaging don't actually give me a color. I don't know how this looks on me. My eyesight is not good enough to really see that in the viewfinder, but I do like the feel of it. It doesn't feel overly like mentholy or anything like that, which is nice. And my lips were very, very dry and they really needed that moisture. That's why I stopped the rest of the video to get that done. Now, as for highlighter, I know that LYS has a highlighter and I thought I bought one. Let me triple check because I don't see the highlighter and I feel like I bought everything and I do want to showcase it if I did buy it. Okay, so it appears I did not buy the highlighter, which is a shame, but it is okay. So for today, I'm only going to be showcasing the Juvia's Place highlighter and I think it is fine. Once again, this is one of those products that you can only pick up at Juvia's Place's website. So once again, keep that in mind if this is something that you're interested in after seeing me apply it. I have the shade Volume 1. I definitely am using a light hand. I have a feeling that this would be too dark if I go a little too heavy handed. So I am just taking the time to do my best to like really blend this in to the zones that I like to apply. Was this necessary? No, I had enough highlighter kind of effect in those blush toppers that I just really didn't need it, but I just want to show that this is a good formula. I've tried Juvia's Place's highlighters prior in their face palettes and I have enjoyed it, so I knew I would enjoy this product. I just never got around to buying it because I don't shop from Juvia's Place's website all that much. So this is pretty much the full face. I am just going to very, very quickly get the eye look done. I did buy an eyeshadow palette from both brands, and mainly I did that because I was super interested to see what the LYS formula was like. They don't have their eyeshadow palettes available everywhere. They're only available on their website and QVC. I don't really shop QVC, so I had to pick it up from their website, and I was just very curious because pretty much everything else is available at Sephora, and I was just curious as to, you know, where their formula is, how good it is, all of that, because I've seen people showcase it on their social medias, but I wanted to see it for myself. Okay, so just to make this simple, it's not going to be the most complex look because I do want to try to make these looks look somewhat similar, although they won't really because the colors aren't the same. So from Juvia's Place, I have their bronzed palette. This was the one palette that I felt like, okay, I would kind of be interested in keeping this long term. I'm going to go into this more mustardy tone, and that is going to be like a majority of my crease. And this is a Refer brush. This is the Refer 16 brush. I think this was a prototype when I was still really actively buying from them. Really great brand. I just haven't been actively buying their brushes lately. Really just getting that color into that socket area. And I think I'm gonna just really bring this down low too. Yeah. Next, I think I'm gonna take a blending brush from the Sephora brand. This is their 19, and I'm gonna go into this more pinky tone. And this is gonna go on the outer portion. I've tried Juvia's Place's eyeshadows years and years ago, and you know, a lot of the palettes that I have were just super old, so I actually decluttered them all, I want to say, in my most recent declutter. That's why I picked up this palette, and yeah, it's nice. It's nice, still pigmented as ever, still blendable, all of that. So not feeling any regrets over picking this up or any of the products really. It's just, it's kind of nice to be reacquainted with an old favorite brand of mine. And this crease is looking really, really pretty. Then what I'm gonna do is take a fluffy but compact blending brush from Blend Bunny Cosmetics. This is the B5, and I'm gonna go into the dark brown. And this is gonna be the shade that I use to just deepen up if I can. And I don't feel like this really deepened up anything, unfortunately. So I may, you know what I'm gonna do? I think I might go ahead and mix and match the palettes. Yeah, I'm gonna mix and match the palettes. So the LYS palette that I have is the Empowered palette. So I'm gonna go into this more purple shade, and that's gonna be my outer V. Same Blend Bunny's palette or brush. And although that's not like a whole lot darker, it's doing something, which is what I wanted. Just wanted a little bit of depth. Okay, that's looking really, really pretty. Hopefully you guys were able to see all of that. I'm sorry if I was covering it up. Then just to keep things kind of interesting, I think what I'm gonna do, let me swatch the three. These are the three shimmers in the LYS palette. What I'm gonna do, there's like a burgundy-esque shimmer right here. So that's gonna be my first shimmer on my lid. It's not a very big palette, so my finger doesn't really get into the section very easily. So I'm really digging in my finger to get some color. And I'm just gonna kind of blend this, like I said, with my finger all over this area. Okay, and then what I'm gonna do is jump back into the Juvia's Place. I'm gonna take this to just brighten that up a little bit and just to add a little bit of splash to it. And then overall for inner corner highlight, I'm gonna go into this shimmer right there. It's very, very bright. I'm actually gonna use a very fluffy brush because I really want this to fluff all in that inner corner. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. It's simple, it's a little neutral, it's a little colorful, it's a little something, something, something. I'm gonna hop off camera, do my liner, my mascara. No, just my liner. My mascara will be something that I showcase here. And I'm also gonna do my other eye really quickly, and then I'll be back to show you guys that mascara, my lashes, all of the jazz. Okay, so I am able to complete this eye look with both of these palettes. What I will say is that I find that both palettes, their mattes are really pigmented, their mattes are blendable, and I have used more of this LYS palette off camera. So even though I only showed a handful of shades, I have used more. So I do have some more impressions on them. But what I will say is neither of the shimmers are very much, you know, standing out to me. The shimmers here are very much shimmers with like sparkles running throughout, whereas these are a lot thicker metallics, which I find even thicker metallics that I can get down with, there's just a lot more sheen on the eye, whereas I'm really not getting that with this particular Juvia's Place palette. Now, both palettes may be better for those who like to use a brush and then, you know, spray the brush to get more of a foiled effect. I am just not one of those people. I prefer to just use my fingers. And so those are my opinions. When it comes to like which palette would I recommend, I honestly prefer the color scheme of the Juvia's Place. So that's the only reason why this would win. But otherwise, I think they're very much on the same, you know, spectrum with my preferences on that regard. As for mascara, to my knowledge, Juvia's Place does not have a mascara. So I did pick up the LYS Lash Complexion Mascara. I have used it once. It has quite a big wand and a curved wand at that. This is not a wand that I get any kind of preference or happiness from seeing. I honestly find it quite difficult for me to use it on my eyes, but I have been able to get some testing on this as well. And, you know, I think it's fine. It's not a favorite. I think the selling point here would be if you like length. I don't really like length. I like more volume. I will take length, but my standout is definitely volume. So, you know, nothing great here. So yeah, lash confidence, it's fine. It is what it is. As for lashes, like actual eyelashes to apply, my preferred between these two, mainly because only one brand has lashes, are the Juvia's Place ones. I really love these lashes. This pair that I have here are just the Egypt, not the Egypt XL. These have definitely been one of my preferred sets that I have run into. I just recently got a bulk order that I made from Ulta because they went on sale, and so I'm just gonna throw these lashes on really quickly, and then we can kind of talk about, you know, who overall won, you know, my preferences, how that played into effect, and then also just talk about the overall look. Because if I'm being honest, I don't see huge differences between the overall look, even though I have preferences on the actual product. So let me finish up this look fully, and then we can really dive into my opinion. So in the grand scheme of things, I was talking about comparing the foundation, the concealer, the powder, the bronzers, the highlighters, the lip products, the brow products, and the eyeshadow products. So that's 8 different categories that I could actually compare. Had I actually bought the highlighter like I planned, we would have been in 9 categories, at least that I could compare, because I had something from each category. And unfortunately, it's a tie. I have 4 categories that I prefer from LYS and 4 categories that I prefer from Juvia's Place. Honestly, I did not expect it to be a tie. I thought that I was definitely going to lean towards LYS just because I tend to gravitate towards their products overall. And I think this is just a really interesting way or take on like looking at a brand fully compared to another. I decided to compare these 2 brands because I feel like they're both affordable at their respective kind of retailers, which of course LYS is available at Sephora and Juvia's Place is available at Ulta. But I also feel like they are having the same type of clientele that they're trying to reach for. And so I thought it would be very interesting to really put them head to head. And yeah, I didn't honestly think that this was going to happen. I really need to get that LYS highlighter so that I can try them and then maybe kind of figure out what the tiebreaker is when it comes to the highlighter. So I guess unofficially, because I was able, no, I can't really do that because I was able to test out a mascara from LYS and not one from Juvia's Place. I really can't determine a winner. I didn't do the setting sprays. See, I knew there was going to be a way to break the tally. So this is going to go to LYS because I do prefer the LYS setting spray to the Juvia's Place setting spray. As I said, in the midst of kind of testing these out, the Juvia's Place is very, very new compared to the LYS. Same as some of the products that I talked about on LYS. All of these new products I will be doing a roundup hopefully very, very soon. I would love to hear your opinions down below. But yeah, officially I can crown LYS the victor because I now prefer them in 5 categories to the 4 categories that I prefer Juvia's Place. I would love to hear your opinions, comments, questions, concerns down below. I will have everything listed and linked down below for you guys so you know what I have on my eyes, on my face, everything. Any questions, comments, like I said, down below in that comment section. And I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.